And so if there's an earthquake in the middle of the night, you can put your shoes on. Now, why would you want to put your shoes on? Well, remember, everything's going to be broken around you. And if it's all broken around you, probably what you want is to have some shoes so you don't cut your feet up. And obviously, this lady's got a flashlight as well. So kind of an emergency kit nearby would be a good choice if you live there. Also, appliances. If you live in an earthquake zone, what they'll have here is they'll take these appliances, and instead of them, in my house here in Colorado, I don't have attachments. It's not attached to the wall. This is a water heater because we don't have very many earthquakes, so it's not as big a deal here. Also, you'll notice right here there's flexible piping, so the piping isn't rigid. Here at my house, they are, but there's no significant earthquake danger where I live, so that's not as big a deal. In the kitchen, your shelves. All right, your shelves are actually more tightly tied, so they're going to have a different kind of what do you call it, system in which they would attach shelving to the wall so that the shelving doesn't come down. So it's just ways to construct your house or your buildings in a better way. You can also have for pictures. Pictures are a problem because, of course, they could just fall off. And so in my house, when I hang a picture, there's just, there's the wall here, and I just put a little nail in there, and then I hang my picture on top of there, right? Well, you can't do that with pictures in an earthquake zone. They'll have a hasp that looks something like this, and it's a much more secure thing. If you've got valuables, vases and things like that, what they'll do is they'll take something called museum putty, and what they'll do is they'll basically a sticky substance, and they put it on the shelf right here. It's actually stuck to the shelf as opposed to just sitting on the shelf. So different things that you can do to help. Home electronics, you can buy little things that connect your home electronics to the shelf so that it doesn't knock your expensive home electronics off. So lots of interesting things that kind of play a role here. So now let's do one last thing, and let's just talk about how geology is the key to destruction. How's that for an interesting thing? I want to talk briefly about a few things called the seismic events of special interest. I don't know that you need this, but I'll just briefly talk about it. In China, in 1996, interesting thing, it was a seismic event, but it was actually a nuclear weapons test. So not all magnitude things are a result of just earthquakes. You can also get ones that are the Kobe, Japan one, which we saw some footage on that, etc. We can see the tsunami heights in 1994. We got tsunami with heights of up to 346 centimeters. That's 3.5 meters. All right, etc. You can just see lots of interesting things. I'm not sure that's important. Let's just talk now, lastly, about the future of San Francisco. San Francisco is going to have an earthquake. I mean, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when. And where is the worst damage going to occur in San Francisco? Well, the lightest color of pink, if you see, is where the highest level of shaking is going to happen. Okay, and it really is a function in this case of what type of soil is underneath San Francisco. So if we look at San Francisco, the worst regions are kind of in here, if you kind of look, and in here. And because you see there's a fault zone, kind of right at San Andreas Fault, and there's actually some other faults that also go through this city. It's really an amazing city. I've been there a few times. And yeah, these are the issues that people are going to have, and it's going to be if a big one hits San Francisco, there's going to be some big issues. Good news in San Francisco is they have designed their buildings in better ways to prevent, not to prevent, but to lessen the damage. All right. Here's some also interesting pictures. So if this is the Oakland. This is, if you understand the kind of the geography of this area. This is close to Berkeley, California. Over here is San Francisco proper, and this is what's called the Bay, the San Francisco Bay. And there's this thing called the Bay Bridge. It's an amazing structure. But where is the bad problems going to happen? Well, it really is a function of the type of rock underneath. So if it's bedrock, you can see the seismogram right here and how it's not as strong. So if you live over here, you're better off because you're standing on rock. If you're in soft mud, which would be kind of right through here, this kind of an area, and we can see it here as well, these guys are going to suffer. So if you're standing in here, then you've got problems. And then if you've got sand and gravel, which is this gray color, then you're going to have sort of medium damage. So it really is a function of what kind of rock you're building your house on, that what kind of damage you're going to have. Here's another picture. If we're staring at that same area. This is Oakland, by the way. That was Oakland we were looking at. And where is the big damage going to be? And they've kind of got it color coded, and they've figured this out based again on the soil type, if it's bedrock or soft sand and mud. Because if you get soft sand and mud, you get that liquefaction thing that we talked about in a previous podcast. So it's pretty amazing. And I do want to say one more thing. How do you build a structure so that you can withstand an earthquake? Well, the key thing is you've really got to build a structure. Here we've got the girl, she's in her bedroom, but if you look under the structure of her bed, there's structures underneath that can absorb the earthquake itself, so the shaking is reduced. Probably a very cool picture. This is a picture in San Francisco, is we've got this building right here, an old classic building, but if you were to look underneath this structure, you will see it's standing on, it's almost kind of like big springs. They call it an isolator, which isolates the building from the shaking, and so you have this shaking that's occurring, but this will absorb a lot of the shake. So they have these sort of big springs that help resist the earthquake damage. And so how do you actually design a building? This is kind of the key. Well, that's the last part of this particular chapter. In the last podcast. We will see you in class. Goodbye.